Hello, my name is Craig Cheney, co-founder of IRMAA Solutions, and you are looking at the Medicare IRMAA calculator, the only calculator of its kind in the country, which will calculate your future Medicare expenses as well as IRMAA surcharges. This has become a critical component of retirement planning as well as financial planning. Failure to plan for these incredibly large costs will destroy most everybody's future retirement plan as well as their financial plan. What you're seeing here is the dashboard. We are going to have a fictitious couple. The couple is going to be 52 years of age. They're going to be married, filing jointly. They're going to be at a Medicare age of 65, and they are going to live in California. Now, the reason we put the state in has really nothing to do with Medicare, but it does have to do with the pricing of the Medicare supplements. Now that you've entered that data, and I want to make a point here, this is so much easier to use than any financial planning suite you've used because it is just a calculator. So what we're going to do now, in order to determine your future Medicare costs, and you may remember, your future Medicare costs are not based on your health. They're based on your income and your assets. And if you have them in the wrong spot, then you're going to pay more for your health care and retirement. So let's get started. We're going to start with Social Security. We put in Social Security and we add the income type. The primary spouse is going to have a monthly income amount of $3,500. The cost of living adjustment this year is going to be 1.5%. Next year, we know it's going to be considerably higher. This is 2021. But for this year, we're going to use 1.5. The point that needs to be pointed out, when you use the software, it has a wide variety of ways to monetize and create revenue for you, the advisor. But one of the ways is, as you're seeing here, we have a 1.3% technically COLA for 2021, but a now 5.9% COLA for 2022. What's that mean to you? It means that you now have to have an annual review with these clients. And as you'll see as we go through this demo, there are opportunities to make additional sales as Medicare and Medicare changes occur. So the spouse also has social, and the spouse is going to have the same amount, $3,500 a month. We're presuming they're retiring at age 65, and you can use 65 all the way up to age 72 when RMDs begin, if you wish. Same COLA of 1.5. The next thing we're going to add is a 401k. And the 401k is where we've got to do a little math. At some point, we may put a future value calculator in here, but we'd rather let you have the freedom to determine what you think is a reasonable rate of asset growth. So in this case, the client's 52. He has $350,000 of value in his current 401k at age 52. We're going to use a 7% increase rate or asset growth rate. And we know that that's going to bring us up to about $750,000 when he retires at age 65. This rate of return tab is simply the rate of return that we're going to use post age 65 or post retirement. We're going to presume that the client's going to have less risk tolerance, maybe some more bonds, maybe some more CDs, etc. The spouse also has a 401k, and that 401k is $200,000 at age 52, excuse me, that will go to $450,000 at age 65. We're going to use a 4%, excuse me, I screwed that up. Let me go back here. Balance of retirement is $750,000. And the monthly withdrawal amount using a 4% assumption will be $2,500 a month based on a $30,000 annual withdrawal amount. In the 450, using the same calculation, is going to be something around $1,700 a month. They also have a brokerage account. The brokerage account has $200,000 in it. The spouse inherited some money from her folks. We know that will also go to $450,000, and that will be $1,700 a month, same as the other $450,000. The growth rates for both here, we're going to continue to assume the 5% growth rate. They have a rental piece of property, and that piece of property pays them $2,500 a month. Finally, they we got a brokerage account, and there's a small pension. We're going to add $1,500 a month, the primary, with a COLA of just 1. And that's it. You have inputted all of the data that you need to prepare the report. What's astonishing, you'll see here in a moment, we know you have to take Part A. You have to take Part B, which is your doctor visits and the like. You have to take Part D for all intents and purposes, and always illustrate Medigap. You don't want to illustrate a scenario where the client thinks they're getting away with 20% less than they really are. We know that Medicare pays for 80%, and it's either up to the client to pay the other 20 or buy a Medigap policy to fill that gap. We've got two options when it comes to expected inflation. You can use the projected rate, which comes from the Medicare Trust Fund, or you can use the average historical rate. I like to use the average historical rate because I don't want to ever be called into court and ask, why did I not use anything but historical inflation? Was I overthinking the system? You can do it either way, but I tend to like the historical better. Something amazing happens at the point of sale. If you're doing this live, we are now going to save and view the scenario results. And the client is going to see for the first time what they have never been told by any financial advisor, anybody that would be talking to them about their finances, that in this case, they have a $2.1 million liability. That is their mandated Medicare costs. That's not anything other than Medicare premiums and IRMAA surcharges between the two spouses ages 65 and 90. I promise you, when you make this presentation, you are going to get what you've always wanted at the point of sale. You want extreme emotion. You're going to get it. Imagine your own personal financial plan. I just took a chunk of 2.1 million out of your Social Security between your ages 65 and 90. Is your financial plan, is your retirement plan in jeopardy? It certainly would look that way. And so what we have here is a graph showing what the actual, what your Social Security income is going to look like. First of all, we have the black line, which is your Social Security income with cost of living adjustment. We can go to any of the data points and see what the income would have been in that year. The red line is your Medicare premiums plus your IRMAA surcharges. You can see right here, whenever you see a jump like this, between the years 2043, 2044, you can pretty much assume that was an IRMAA bracket surcharge. The blue line is your net spendable Social Security income. This is interesting because for those of your clients who are very worried about their future Social Security income and Social Security being there, you don't have to worry about that. Social Security will be there. This blue line essentially represents Social Security's future liabilities, and you can see they're declining. Now, your clients, on the other hand, and frankly yourself, you're going to see your Social Security income in your years where you might really need it be absolutely non-existent. But that's not really where this becomes very emotional. We come down here and we can also see the spouse's check, and we see the same result. So that's the graphic illustration. But what we want to do is get down here and look at the reports. We have three different reports: income and cost by year, the impact on your Social Security check, and the income by asset class. Where you monetize this program every time it's tried is right here, the impact on your Social Security check. Remember, when these clients' retirement income was being planned for, they thought each of them, they were going to get $42,000 a year. But the reality is they didn't even get that the first year. They got $34,000, $182 to spend. And over time, as you can see here in the far column, they triggered an IRMAA bracket in the first year of their retirement. When you trigger an IRMAA bracket in the first year of your retirement, the government will no longer hold you harmless for digging into your Social Security check for increased Medicare premiums. As you can see, their check stays pretty good in the first 7-8 years, and that has to do with your cost of living adjustments. But now they hit a second IRMAA bracket and the carnage begins. You can see here in this 1 year between ages 74 and 75, each one of the spouses' Medicare premiums, their healthcare costs, went up by $7,000 each. That's a $14,000 a year hit in one shot. And as we cascade down, we can see that the amount of money they get to spend from Social Security is becoming increasingly irrelevant. For those of you who are financial planners and use future purchasing power, imagine when we have not done this, but imagine if we overlaid a projected CPI rate so we could see further what the real purchasing power here would be. It would be non-existent. This couple's Social Security would be of little value, certainly in the later years of their life. Indeed, when they hit age 90, and whenever you see a red line on this report, it is a disaster. What do I mean? They no longer get at age 90 anything resembling a Social Security check. It's gone. They're going to write a check. Each spouse is going to write a check for $2,192 a year in this year to the government just to continue their Medicare. However, they're going to be paying taxes on $60,939, at least 85% of $60,939. That's going to be each spouse. So imagine they have no Social Security. They're writing checks for about $4,400 to the government. They're paying taxes on about $100,000 that they didn't get. And we can only tell you after having 10 years of doing this, that the clients become outraged and emotional, and they want action. They want this problem fixed. And I can imagine that those of you who are watching this would want the same thing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back and we're going to solve the problem. Now we know, just to recap, the primary solutions for Medicare's IRMAA and Medicare premiums evaporating your Social Security with no particular bias. Certain types of annuities, life insurance, HSAs, 401h plans, reverse mortgages. Those and Roth, anything Roth, Roth conversions, Roth IRAs, Roth 401k, huge opportunities for the financial advisor. So let's take a look at what we can do for these people. And what we're going to do is edit this scenario. And for those of you who like to sell life insurance, we're going to have some fun here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the brokerage account. And I'm going to get rid of the brokerage account and I'm going to put it into an IUL. Now, I'm one of those people who believes that the IUL ought to be considered an asset class unto itself. If you haven't been looking lately, you're going to see that some of the asset or the cash value accumulation buckets have gotten very aggressive with respect to how much leeway they allow you to have to accumulate that bucket. So it really does become an asset class unto itself. But the bigger question is, we know that we had a $2.064 million liability. So we're going to get rid of this brokerage account and we're going to put it into, say, a 7-pay IUL just for demo world. And we're going to update the results. And we're going to come up here and we see 1.943 million. We have just saved these clients $120,000 in future healthcare costs by moving money from a brokerage account into an IUL. again, for those of you who like to sell life insurance, if I give you $120,000 cash value head start over your competition, are you ever going to lose in an illustration war? We haven't seen it happen yet. It's an amazing way to help you help your client. The next thing we're going to do, and in the interest of time, I'm going to make the other solutions all at once. What we're going to do is we're going to tell the clients they get to enjoy their rental property, but at age 63, maybe even 62, because the IRS has a 2-year look back to determine income for IRMAA purposes, we are going to sell the rental property, likely going to put those proceeds into either an immediate annuity or a split funded annuity. For those of you who may not remember a split funded annuity, it's simply some kind of an accumulation annuity, whether that be a fixed indexed, a variable annuity, take your pick. And we're going to take the other half of the proceeds and we're going to put it into, say, a 10-year term certain. That 10-year term certain immediate annuity will create a 96% tax-free cash flow, which is tax-free from the government, federal income tax, state, Social Security, and Medicare's IRMAA. So we're going to do that with the rental. And we're only going to take one of the two. We're going to take the big 401k and we're going to do a Roth conversion. For those of you who like to sell annuities, this is my 35 years of this, the easiest way to sell an annuity I've ever seen, because the client really has to buy it. There's no question about it. So we're going to take this Roth, or this 750,000, and we're going to do a Roth conversion. But remember, they're age 52, so they're only going to do 350,000, which is going to cost them just under 100,000 in taxes over 5 years. So we're going to remove that, and we're going to take a look and see what effect our strategies have done. One of the things that you will note, our average client who goes to solving these problems, we find that there's an average case size of about $37,500 in combined revenue from multiple products. You can see here now the client is at $1.4 million. We have now saved them $664,000 in future costs just by moving the assets around. Some of you might think, well, I can just grow my clients' assets and that'll solve the problem. No, that exacerbates the problem. The more you grow, the more you pay. The government knows this, and that's why they've set it up that way. So now let's take a look and see if our clients are breathing. As we come down here, we're going to take a look at that Social Security check. And notice, right out of the gate, we don't have an IRMAA bracket. In fact, we don't trigger an IRMAA bracket until age 88. And moreover, we've managed to restore 24,000 of their income versus they were writing a check for 2,200 of their income. I know this sounds funny and I know it sounds hard to believe, but the reality is at this point in the presentation, when I've done it, it's usually, Craig, are we supposed to sign something? If you are looking for a strategy, a planning process to shorten your sales cycle and increase your sales, where the client knows they have no other choice, here's the bottom line. They have two choices, actually. They can pay $1.4 million and take your suggestions, or they can pay $2.1 million and not take your suggestions. Those are the only two choices they have. And it makes the sales process so much easier. We think the Medicare IRMAA calculator is probably the best sales tool on the market because it brings a specific problem into play that nobody has talked to these clients about. Remember, those of you who've ever wanted an exclusive in this business, we know there are less than 1,000 advisors in the country who are talking about Medicare and Medicare's IRMAA impact on their retirement and specifically their Social Security. Finally, we'd like to show you what the client will see. Now, that was what we call the worksheet. This is what the finished product, what the client's going to see First and foremost, it's going to highlight you, the advisor. These are the clients. Here's the advisor, the contact info. You can put a picture, your company logo, however you want to proprietize it. When you own a license, you're free to do that. We've seen these graphs before. And now we slide down, and again, on every page, your name, logo, contact info. And then the reports we just showed you, the income and cost breakdown by year, impact and Social Security check, each partner, impact and Social Security check part 2, and then all of the assumptions that we use. We hope this has been helpful and gives you some input on how to use the software, where you can make the sale. We at IRMAA Solutions spend most of our time helping advisors design marketing plans and strategies so you can monetize this. We'll show you how to prospect for it. Please feel free to contact us at 208-231-7080. Thanks for your time.